a time in our life where we feel like things don't happen as fast as we would want or as quick as we think they should. I like to call this the waiting season. Well, I've heard other people call it the waiting season. And how do you not lose yourself in the wait? How do you stay true to yourself? How do you manage that time very well? These are some of the questions we'll be answering today. My name is Hakima and I am the host of HAKEEMAH'S. And today we have a very special guest, first guest this season, in person of Glory ESUA. Would you like to introduce yourself in this way?
Hi everyone, my name is ESUA and I'm a digital creator. I have a podcast and I have a YouTube channel as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, the reason why Glory is here, she will be answering some of these questions today because she recently started at YouTube and the very first video was a video talking about how she wrote Jam 4 whole times. And Glory is one of the smartest people I know. So I was just wondering, how did that feel like for you?
Okay, growing up as a child, I would say that my dad took academics seriously, like he took it seriously, and it was such a big deal in my house, right? My dad was one of those parents that would tell you, oh, the person that got first, they have 2 heads, all of that, right? He was spending a lot of money on our education, and I could see it because even the distance from my house to my school was a lot, and then I could just see the investment. So he in turn expected that, for all the sacrifices he was making, we had to sort of like not repay him per se, but just do well to make him proud, right? So academics was always a big deal for me. And then my brother, finished and he got into uni. Same happened to my sister. And when he got to my own turn, things were just different. And as somebody who was sort of, because of how my dad raised us, based my in quote self-esteem on my academics, I found that very challenging because this was me topping my classes, being head girl in primary school, in secondary school. And so when the whole stuff happened, I just felt really bad and I started to question my abilities. I started to question my worth, and the questions that I had in my head was, oh, what is wrong with me? Am I a failure? All of the sorts. It was a very emotional and overwhelming phase for me, to be honest.
I can understand the part where you said you felt like your self-esteem was tied to your academic validation. Yeah. So how did you feel? Like, how did you get that self-esteem back? Were you able to tell yourself that this does not matter? Maybe it's not time yet.
Okay, so regarding that, I had to detach myself from societal expectations, right? So my parents, obviously, thank God they were even kind enough to walk me through the entire process, right? But then for like society, your neighbors and your mates and all of that, everybody expects that you're in school and all of that. I had to detach myself in the sense that I would tell myself that, oh, my worth is not based on my academic performance. And the fact that I'm not in school yet does not mean that the people that are in school are better off than I am or that I'm inferior to them. So just consciously repeating these words to myself and letting myself understand the fact that, see, first of all, the Nigerian academic system is rigged in the sense that it's not about who is the smartest. So those are also like minimal factors that play, because it was not like I was doing anything wrong, right? It was not like I was not smart or I was not performing well. It was just circumstances happening, right? So I had to let it sink into myself that I was not the problem, because in all honesty, I really was not the problem.
Yes, that's true, because actually Glory is one of the smartest people I know. She was the head girl in our secondary school and she was somebody I really looked up to. Like, she was giving speeches, winning awards, and I'm like, go Glory. So when I watched that YouTube video, I was really surprised that so this happened. And you managed that time so well. Nobody would see you and think, she's going through, she has not entered school, she wrote Jam 4 times. So how did your family react to you writing Jam 4 times?
Wow. It was a lot. I feel like initially everybody was confused. Everybody, like, my dad could not, like, what's going on? What in the hell is going on? They were confused at first, and I feel like they did not even know how to react. They didn't know how to help me,
especially when they know that it's not your fault, it's not you that is the problem.
Right. I would say that for the most of it, my dad was angry at the educational system in Nigeria and all of that. But then he would always call me and remind me that this is not your fault and all of that. He would always encourage me, right? Same thing with my sister. They never made me feel like, oh, you're less or you're not good enough because this happened, right? If anything, they were solid support system.
That's important, having good people around you, exactly. People that push you, people that comfort you, people that are just there
to help.
So important. Like, You started content creation in 2022. How did you know that that was something you wanted to use your time to do?
Okay, so I would say that the whole content creation stuff started before I even left secondary school. I would write then and I would show my works to my friends. And then one of my friends just brought up the suggestion, oh, since we all can relate to most of your pieces, why don't you start like sharing them on like Instagram? I was on Instagram at the time. And I thought it was a really good suggestion. So, I started. So this was even before like Go, Jam, Palava and all of that. So when the whole jam situation happened, I just thought to myself, okay, since I'm not in school now, it's better I just make the most of my time. And then I focused all of my energy on that while I was still, trying to prepare for school by the side and all of that. So I just focused all my energy on creating content because I'm somebody who likes to share my experiences. And I feel like I've experienced a lot in such a short amount of time, to be honest. And then when I see that, oh, I'm putting something out there and it's helping other people, that actually did encourage me. So that was just how I went on and on and on. And here we are.
When you started content creation, you were somebody that looked, you were always posting. You were always, I was seeing your work very well, and I like how you put yourself out there regardless of the situation. And what are some of the things you've achieved during that content creation time? The small time that you started, because you have over 2,000 community members. I think you've written a poetry series one. You have 2 ebooks, and only you. How did you know that? Okay, this is something I want to do, something that I will do very well. How are you able to tell yourself, push yourself, and to do more every single time?
To be honest, when I started out, I didn't think that it was going to get this far. I really just wanted to put out my thoughts out there. And I would say that one thing that content creation has done for me is that it has connected me to a lot of people and it has brought a lot of people, my way. Now, when I started, content creation, I also started attending events, and then, during those events, I got to meet a lot of people, even online as well. I got to meet a lot of people because, when you make a post and people like it are sharing, they're sharing and all of that, right? So content creation opened me to an entire new world, a different world, if I'm being very honest, because now it was no longer my friends and the people that just knew me that were interacting with my content. It was a whole new audience. And when I just saw how people were invested in what I was doing, I felt like that gave me the courage and the motivation to, keep going, because now it was not just really about me, it was more about the people that I was helping, because I tend to see it as, I like to focus on the big picture. So people are, let's say, self-absorbed or stingy when they are creating content, think that they are only in for the likes and the engagements and all of that. But I really want to create value, and I know that people appreciate value, right? So when I put out my work out there and I see that, oh, people are, engaging with it and all of that, I feel like that just gives me the motivation and the skill that I need to keep on going, and that's how I just keep on going.
So did you feel like you managed your waiting season very well?
I would say I did. Yes, I would say I did a whole lot. I did a whole lot of things, to be very honest. And I'm just grateful that, although there were times where I was sulking and all of that, but I'm grateful that for the most of it, I would say I managed my time very, very well.
Is there any other thing besides content creation that you tried or you attempted during your waiting season, those 4 years?
Besides content creation, I feel like content creation was my major during while I was preparing for school. Yeah, aside going out a lot, I went out a lot, like trust me, a whole lot. But yeah, aside content creation, nothing major.
So you understand that during those 4 times that you wrote jam and you did not get into school, people would, like other people or all of us are human, will feel really bad. How were you able to just pull yourself from that and understand that maybe God wants something bigger for you, or maybe God is protecting you from something? How were you able to do it?
I would say that's community for me, because there were a lot of days I was so sad, right? And then I banked on my community. I was very open with my friends. I was very, very open to them. I'll tell them, oh, this is how I'm feeling. Oh, I saw this and this is how it has made me feel, right? There was this particular time something happened. One of my close friends, right? So she had gotten into school. I knew about it and all of that, but then they had their matriculation ceremony, and in a bit to not make me feel bad, she didn't tell me about it beforehand. But then I felt that was silly because we were both on like a community, and then she posted the pictures there, and I came online to see it, and I'm like, what's going on? And she didn't tell me. I didn't, say anything, but I just posted the pictures, celebrated her, and all of that. And later, I had to go back to her and tell her that I don't like what you did because you made me feel hurt. I know that you may have had me in your best interest, or you don't want to like rub it in my face, but that just made me feel like you're excluding me because it felt like, oh, I could not relate to your success because I have not gotten to that height yet, right? So as much as I could, I was very honest with the people around me. I was very, very honest with my family, with my sister. My sister is one of my closest friends, by the way. I was very honest. I would tell them how I feel, and they were always really there for me. They would always tell me that, okay, you may not understand the reason why now, but someday it will all make sense. And looking back in retrospect, it all makes sense.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense. I like that. So if you could advise anybody that is going through what you went through, what would you tell the person? How would you tell the person to go about it?
I would tell anybody who is in the waiting season to not put their life on pause because they are in a waiting season, right? One of my videos that is in the works is centered on this basically. It's how that when we're in a waiting season, we're always so focused on what we're waiting for. But I feel like the real growth happens in the waiting because it's not just about what you get at the end of the day, it's about who you become at the end of the day. And I feel like waiting seasons are always going to happen at different stages of our life. For me, it was getting into uni. For some people, it's getting a job, it's getting married. So it never really ends in a sense, right? So the earlier you get to deal with it and understand that because you're in a waiting season does not mean that you have to put your life on hold, right? The better for you basically. And I would say that you should also focus on other things, right? So basically now content creation has opened doors and it's still opening doors. It will still open doors for me that if I'm being very honest, my education may not really be able to, right? So just focus on what God has put in your hand for the time being, and also focus on your school as well. You're prepared to enter school.
Just explore your options.
Explore your options. Have fun because trust me, you may not have this time again. No, do all the things you want to do basically, and just enjoy yourself. It's going to pass. Basically, it's going to pass.
So I read your poetry series, and I must say it was amazing. It was very beautiful, very relatable. How were you able to put such a piece out there? Like, how did you do it?
7 hours going. Okay, I would say that I started writing 7 hours going in 2021. I think I was in SS2 at the time. It was a very rough phase for me emotionally, and because of that, it kind of like affected other areas of my life. I was not even doing so well academically at the time, and then because writing was kind of like my safe space at the time, I remember telling my best friend, I was like, oh, I'm going to write and just keep on writing until I feel better. Right? So that was the whole idea basically. And then I did write, but then writing did not instantly make me feel better. But then what it did was it made me aware of why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I think that from there it was just easier to move forward, because most of the times when we're going through like certain things, if we're able to process our feelings, I feel like we've done half of the job, because then you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling and you can just take it up from there. And so from there it was just me learning how to become a better person, because people who actually read the first piece said it was toxic. And I agree, that was fine. So I gave myself a 1 year let's say a goal, right? And I told myself that in the next 1 year I'm going to write another piece, sort of like a part 2, and I want it to reflect how much I have grown. And I did do that. And when people who had read the first part read the second part, they're like, oh my god, I can see that growth has happened, right? And then 2024 came. I came up with the idea of doing a part 3, which was on healing, and then just bringing the 3 of them together. We have 7 hours.
Beautiful ceremony. You married all the 3 parts of your life.
Exactly.
In a beautiful ceremony. I feel like people underrate writing a lot. People don't understand the power writing has and the effect it has on us. Sorry. So I feel like when I write, sometimes I don't understand what I'm feeling until I write it down. Like, it just helps you understand and grasp what you're feeling at that moment and just process it. And then I talk about journaling. People are just, does this thing really work? How would you tell somebody that has not started journaling, has not started writing, that this thing actually works and it actually helps? How would you explain writing to them? Magic of writing.
I feel like you said, writing is underrated for most people, right? But I believe that there's power in words, right? Most of the, would I say, traumas or issues that people are having now is as a result of things that were said to them while they were much younger. And people don't even realize these things. It's when you like pause to think. You're like, why do I see myself in certain lives? If you actually sit down to pause and
When you
reflect,
take your time to
you
just
trace
think
it
about
back to
it.
something that somebody has said. Or it may be 5, 10 years ago, and that's so crazy, right? So writing helps you gather. See, I don't even know how to say it, but I just feel like people should just give writing a chance.
Give writing a
basically.
chance. It
Give
will help
writing
you.
a
It
chance.
helps a lot. It helps
Once
you
once you start,
process.
you would understand better. I cannot really explain it, but I just feel like we should give writing a chance.
I like that. When I started writing, I was surprised that the impact writing had in my life, and I was starting to understand myself in ways that I did not before. And I just stick to it, and I like this, and I'm going to continue doing it. And let me just say, you were one of the people that motivated me to start writing content. Like, you're always posting. I had free time on my hands. I'm like, okay, let me try. And now I really like it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That's amazing. The pleasure is all mine.
So, how has having a community online? I hear that online communities are really toxic and stuff like that. So, how have you been able to choose your community, like make your community the way you have made it?
I would say that for community, it depends on the kind of post that you put out there, because what you put out there determines the kind of people that come to you, right? But sometimes you can't really control it. And that's so true. So for me, it's just being genuinely interested in their lives as well. I'm not the star of the show, right? I'm not the star of the show, so I don't always like to get caught up in the moment and feel like it's all about me. This is really not about me. If they don't come together, I'm not going to have a community, right? So as much as they're interested in me, I ensure that I'm interested in them as well. So reaching out to them from time to time, being interested in their lives as well, and then putting out things that I feel like benefit them, because people will care more about you when they see that you care about them, right? So it's just kind of like a ripple effect as well. So I try to be interested genuinely, not because I want them to like me, but just genuinely interested in them as much as I can.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you for explaining that. So, do you believe in affirmations? Do you believe affirmations work?
Yeah, I believe affirmations work. I do believe affirmations work.
It can help you in dealing with negative thoughts.
Yes, we can.
I when I was younger, let's not say when I was younger, like I was 10. But 2 years ago, when I started hearing about affirmations, I did not think it worked. Like, how would you tell yourself something over and over and magically it will happen? It's just that now that I started to understand that people have made affirmations so, I think, shallow. Like, when they're affirming for things that I will be rich, I will be beautiful, not things that actually matter to them. Like, I am good enough, I am not, but things like that. I think that's why affirmation, people don't understand it a lot. So do you do affirmations a lot?
Yes, I do. Affirmations. Like I said before, there's power in words, right? And when you repeatedly say something over and over, it seeps into your subconscious. Just the same way an abusive parent will tell a child, "Oh, you're not good enough, you're not good enough." And even though that child is not obviously saying those words out loud, it just seeps into a part of their mind, and then they get into spaces and then they feel like certain things are not for them because somebody somewhere has said that they're not good enough. So I feel like if you want to reverse it, affirmations are powerful, right? In the positive light as well. I do believe it.
So I'm so proud of you. When I look at you, I'm proud of everything you have achieved in the time that you had in your hands. And I'm just hoping that anybody that is watching has learned something, that just because you're in the waiting season, your life is not on pause. Maybe God is protecting you from something.
He is.
Keeping you for just bigger opportunities. Because I feel like that's what happened to you. It has been a wonderful conversation. Is there anything you want to say to the audience?
Yeah, subscribe to HAKEEMAH'S YouTube channel.
Thank you. Get to subscribe. We'll be having more guests over, more meaningful conversation, more insights, and it's just lovely to have the global glory in my studio. Thank you for coming. Global glory. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, listen to this on Spotify, give it a rating and comment. I want to hear your thoughts. We'll be reading the comments, answering questions, any questions that you might have. Thank you for watching. Bye.